Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to episode 4 of the Ad Bros podcast. You have myself, Tony Stallion. You can just call me Tony. Who we got from the team today?
Yeah, it's AD, the Magnificent, all the way from Decatur, Georgia, all the way from ATL, all day.
Shay's in the building. I want to just say shout out to Queens, shout out to Jamaica, shout out to Southside, shout out to Richmond Hill. I love y'all, and if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here.
Rose is back. Just want to say thank you for still hanging in there with us, listening, and staying in tune.
So episode 4. Let's just dive into it right now. So I'm sure everybody has seen it. Black Panther.
Of course. I guess for me, I mean, it's easy to talk
All right,
about.
dive in.
It's easy to talk about, what the movie did on screen, but I'm kind of cerebral. So I always like to think about things like in a very non-traditional manner, right? The things that happen off screen. So I'm looking at yes, that is a comic book movie. It's owned by Marvel, who is obviously owned by Disney. I get it, right? It follows the script of a MCU movie, right? Which is going to have a hero, an antagonist, some type of origin story potentially, and obviously you're going to have some issues. Great film, by the way. I mean, great movie, by the way. What really enchants me about Black Panther is not necessarily the movie itself. It's about Ryan Coogler as a director, the actual the talent used on screen, more so the talent used off screen, right? So imagine all the different people who did the wardrobe. Like the sister who did the wardrobe, obviously did some of the wardrobe for some of Spike Lee's first films, right? Definitely Ryan Coogler himself, hearing Ryan Coogler talk, he sound like one of my peeps from back home, right? Just an everyday brother, but he's making a film this huge, right? I mean, to make a film on that level, this huge with that studio, with Marvel,
right?
And Coogler sound like your cousin, your
bro.
dude.
He sounds straight out the bay, which I love.
I love that.
I love
that.
Yes,
and I love that because let's be honest, right? We all work in this game, right? Like, imagine those reviews when he was getting those rough cuts coming in, those dailies coming in, right? And
imagine the pressure.
And the pressure, he got to review this stuff with higher ups because that budget is serious, right? So to see a brother like him make that film, which is breaking all kinds of records, on this level with that amount of talent, that amount of resources, with this amount of pressure. I mean, look. I haven't seen a campaign yet that can potentially outdo that.
And
that's real.
And honestly, the pressure is definitely on because he's directed Fruitvale Station
and Creed,
and that's it.
But I mean that's
not
true.
Again, not taking away at all.
But no, I mean that's true.
But in terms of a resume,
he ain't Michael Bay.
Marvel director, it was a lot of pressure because it's like
he's got Michael Bay budget to produce a film, in my opinion, that blows any of Michael Bay's films out the water because it tells a story. It's nuanced. It's breaking the whole, the entire experience of being black, regardless where you're from, the diaspora, into the film and really making it very nuanced, regardless of where you're from. Killmonger, in my opinion, is pretty much anybody that's black, born in the West, whether you're talking about the Caribbeans, definitely here in America, whatever, right?
Oh, just for the audience, this spoiler alert. If you haven't seen Black Panther,
if you haven't seen
if
Black
you haven't
Panther,
seen it, you played yourself.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No, you know what? I felt like walking out of the movie. I feel like the movie, number one, covered so much ground in the amount of time that
absolutely
from start to finish, the movie wasn't too long. Number one for me, it covered so much ground, and number two, the lenses and perspectives that it gave, right? So then we talk about an African nation, and then they talked about the beginning and the different tribes and how they came, and then you had one tribe who was kind of defiant, but at the end of the day, they wanted to do their own thing. I could relate to that. It's very relatable, no matter from if you're on the West Coast, New York, wherever. Right. And I felt like it was very tasteful as well. Just the light of how it showed, black people, right? I mean, I've watched a lot of black movies. I go into fucking Tyler Perry movies, and it's certain kind of movies that I just don't rock with. And I felt like there was a consensus
Gotcha.
across more people. Just say, you know what, like I was good with the product.
Right.
Like it was just a good film that was very tasteful. I think one thing
It was smart.
It was
well
very
done.
smart, well done. One thing for me that I thought was funny and that I identified with is the fact that when they had the vibranium, right, and they had it hidden, and they didn't want other countries to know, right, and I feel like that experience,
Because
right,
everyday
because-
experience,
right.
people will do that to you.
But the thing about that, is that spoke volumes to me
Even from
about
a
culturally. And it's like, you know what? No, because if I tell you about it, then you're going to try to come over here and take some. And I know the use, like how to use it in a way that's like, all right, it's not for sale.
Right.
I thought that was very powerful. Another thing that was very powerful to me was the reality that it just talked about the African and the perspective of the American black.
Gotcha.
And just how they look at each other.
Oh man, a fantastic film. I thought it was great. Highly recommended. I do have to ask, like, why did Agent Ross have to kind of be like that change agent in the film?
I agree.
That's the one thing.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
So I mean, if it wasn't for Agent Ross, those kind of cargo ships would have left Wakanda.
I thought about that too.
Yeah, those cargo ships would have left.
Oh,
the
you
country.
mean him attacking the ships?
That's
and
Hollywood gotta insert.
I mean that's only, that's
Why
honestly,
gotta be this-
honestly,
be
I
this
didn't look at it that
quasi-heroes?
way. I just looked at it as, and again, I could be ignorant, but I just looked at it as him being a pilot and him just being the person who's available to pilot this ship.
Yeah.
That was by design, though.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's
By
like
design.
Okay.
he became the quasi savior of the film, while
I
Black
didn't look at
Panther
it that
was-
way.
Yeah, I kind of saw it that way.
I did.
Yeah,
Oh, damn.
But
Maybe I'm not as woke as y'all.
nah, it's
I don't
not
think
about
I'm
being woke.
It's just,
Yeah,
you know, it's
it,
perspective.
I mean, it's a Disney movie. It's a Marvel movie, so that's what I'm saying. But I did think the film was fantastic,
Gotcha.
and I hope more people go see it.
Okay. Just the one thing I want to impact with you guys is he wasn't your typical bad guy who just wants to kill the world and end it. Again, I could be devil's advocate in this
Hey,
situation.
I read an article on The Verge.
Go
I
ahead.
think it was The Verge that talked about comparing Killmonger and Magneto.
Oh, actually, I like that. Yeah.
Because if you
Magneto
look at-
is very similar.
Well,
yes.
yeah, because you look at Magneto. You first got introduced to Magneto, in these recent X-Men movies as a kid being ripped apart from his parents, who was obviously at Auschwitz, and they was on their way to the incinerator, and he was ripped apart from them, right? So
Right.
that hurt was established.
Actually, I never made that comparison.
Right.
That's a
And-
good comparison.
And if you think about Killmonger, same kind of thing. So obviously, midway through the movie, you know that he goes through somewhat of the same thing. Like
Right.
he has his birthright to Wakanda, but he's never actually allowed to experience that because of a sudden death of his dad. Right.
Right.
So that hurt was established at a very young age.
Right.
And that basically created Killmonger or created
Right.
Magneto, and it's been theorized that character is probably equally or if not more dynamic than Magneto,
Right.
who's been around. Magneto been around
Yeah.
decades.
Nah, honestly, now you pointed out, I can see the comparison. And just to jump on that point you just made, the reason why, for me, it's hard. It's hard for me to call Killmonger a bad guy because it's like the point you just made are the same points that have made Batman a superhero.
Right.
His parents getting killed.
Yeah.
Him taking this path to becoming a superhero is the same thing that made Superman a superhero. In the new one, his uncle being killed, him becoming a superhero. Spider-Man, his uncle being
Right.
killed, him becoming a superhero. So
In real life,
Yeah.
the real Black Panthers was a direct result of the death of Malcolm X, Martin Luther King.
Right.
Right. So while they may not have been directly related to the guy, those are brothers.
Right. Exactly.
And for one guy who professed nonviolence and another guy who professed equal equality for Black people first and then all people, for those guys to get gunned down by their government.
Right.
And then that created ultimately the Black Panther Party.
Exactly.
Right. So sometimes those things do produce results that,
Right.
that could lead to, the ultimate antagonist. Yeah.
All right. I like that. Was there any other scenes or moments in the movie that you guys think may have been under the radar? And
I know the first scene, like when he was like about to, get into some action, obviously T'Challa had on black, Lupita's character had on green, and the sister who was head of the Dora Milaje, she had on red. So that consistent,
interesting
theme of red, black, and green
I didn't even notice that
was there. You know what I mean? That's why I give Coogler his props, because he really wove in like a lot of like nuanced things that it's
Mad
not so
thoughtful.
literal, but it was
Right.
there.
Yeah. Mad thoughtful.
Yeah.
No, another thing that I noticed too, is just the relationship between the males and the females. So, like, they had the moment when, the general, I believe, she was like defending the king, and then her husband was like, no, that he's defending the other king, and then they had an opportunity. He was like, you would kill me for the kingdom. She's like, absolutely would. And you thought that it was gonna go another way, and it didn't go that way. It just showed like the love and the respect. I feel like in a lot of movies you don't really see that at that level between black men and black women.
Right.
Like a lot of movies,
Right.
like they want for see
They want the
them go
sister
at
to
it.
bow down, or
Right. Yeah, or just see them go at each other.
Right.
Like they had an agreement, but one was just agreeable in that fashion. Like, you know what, we in this together, and this for our country. Like, you know what, we're married. Let's stay together. We're gonna work this out.
right. All right.
Yeah.
So I know we spoke about awards before, but like, all right. So let me just dive into this real quick,
brother.
Regardless of how you guys feel about awards, do we still need awards to validate movies and actors?
No.
Okay.
I'm gonna say
Next person.
personally, no. However, humans need something to hold on to, right? So I really do think, much as I'm not a big fan of awards myself, our species like to be rewarded
Right.
for things that the guys like us may look at as being like, not that important.
Right.
We like to be rewarded. We like to be rewarded, right? This idea of gamification. So when you do something right, you kind of like to reward yourself, right? Or when you do something right at your job, or you accomplish something, you want to be rewarded. So I think human beings overall like that. Also, we like to talk shit about when somebody don't get rewarded. So
Right.
it's like the flip side of that, right? It's a train wreck approach.
Right. I think just for me, the reason why I said no is because what was brought up specifically was the Academy Awards. And I feel like that's an old and outdated kind of,
True.
Establishment, right? Like the way that we view content is much different versus when it was first established. So
Right.
maybe we put together an award ceremony that means something. It means something to the people who are actually viewing this content.
So that would be the global, I'm tripping.
Golden Globe.
Golden Globe Awards, right? Because that's technically from the people,
Right.
from my understanding. So that'd be more like that, right?
And just like specifics to like platform, like when you put in platform versus this platform and this original content together, like I feel like that means more to people, because like we all are sitting here and saying that, yo, we didn't even see this movie because for whatever reason, and it's because not that we're not watching movies and we're not watching content, but it's how we're watching it. So those award shows should reflect that.
Well, how you feel?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think awards are important, not for us, but for the people who actually receive them. And what I mean by that is, if we're working, as an example, if we're working on a brand and you do something for a soda company, you get a lion for the agency.
Yeah.
That's for the agency and that's for the brand. The creative can be like, okay, yeah, that's cool. I have that award, but you don't really have that award because that's not going to guarantee you can even be at the agency or whatever for like the next year or 2 years or whatever. So it's not guaranteeing your place there. So I think awards are important, in the sense that people have them to put it on their resumes or put it on their reel, their portfolio. But I don't think people care about awards.
Hey, I won an award a while ago, and I didn't even know what I won because the agency didn't even tell me that I won. So I didn't even get a chance to even go to the award show. And I won 2 awards. I won a gold Addy regional, regional Addy, and I won a bronze Addy for a blog site I designed, and I didn't even know I won.
And you have another one.
I mean,
You have a
Damn, bro, you trying to have him shine out?
I mean, yeah, I won a couple awards, but it's kind of like one. I don't know. For me personally, I can't eat off awards, right? I can't feed my family with awards, right?
Yeah.
They're cool, look good on LinkedIn and whatever, but I don't know, man. I just have my back and forth issue with awards because I won them, and sometimes when I've won them, I never was invited to go receive them. And the shit is kind of biased. It's a popularity contest, and I just don't really do those. So, but hey, whatever.
I like that.
That's just me being.
I don't like that. I just like that.
But awards are a
response.
popularity contest. So
it's
it's
like
like
high school.
you have to get people in there who can advocate on your behalf. You vote for their award, they vote for yours, and that's how it's. But the truth is, most creatives are not that good. They can get past their client, or they can get past their agency, but
Most
creatives are
creatives
not that
steal.
good. No, well, it's bigger
That's
than
true.
that.
That's a whole nother.
Most creators
topic,
do
but yeah.
still.
Yeah, no, it's true, but it's bigger than that, right? Because most creatives are like, if you do it professionally and there's no other end goal, you just got to do what you got to do.
Hey, I mean, I remember us talking to one of our old colleagues. He was saying that when he worked at this Omnicom agency, I'm not gonna call him out, but
You want to say his name though?
not gonna say his name.
Oh, okay.
But he was telling me that, back in the day, like at the end of the day, you would literally have to take your whatever ideas you threw in the trash. People would take those ideas.
Oh, they will steal you.
They would literally steal your ideas out the trash can.
Yeah.
So he got into practice, and a bunch of other people get into practice of taking their ideas with them at night and trashing it when they got home. Because, to your point, Stallion, that people would literally steal your ideas, and next thing you know, you had a creative review, and you like, holy shit,
I did
this
that.
motherfucker presenting my idea that I thought was a throwaway, and next thing you know, that idea getting produced because they sold it in.
What would you suggest someone does if that happens? And has that happened to you? And what did you do?
That's tricky, bro, because you need an advocate. Like, if you're gonna go in with a big stick swinging about somebody, you
gotta have an advocate.
You gotta have an advocate, bro.
You gotta have an advocate.
You gotta have an advocate.
Someone that has a high title and major influence at the job.
They're gonna have your back
and got your back.
Because if you don't have that, you
advocate.
toast.
Yeah,
You're
you have
toast.
a problem.
You're
And
toast.
I learned that the hard way.
If you don't have that advocate that's gonna stick up for you for when you put out an idea and somebody steal that idea, I mean, you can bring it up, but it's really your word against theirs.
Right.
I mean, it becomes semantics at that point.
I've had people steal my ideas, or let me not say steal because it's not covered. I want to say covered something that I might have thought
That's
of.
a safe way. Let's do it.
But the thing is, it's like, you know what? I'm kind of where AD is with a lot of stuff, and it's like, I know I did it. And the reality is in a lot of cases, it's not even that deep. For me, it's like, all right, then you know what? Then I'm just going to move differently next time.
Right.
And like, you got to come up with that on your own. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
Rosé, you're not going to continue to use Rosé and, my shit.
You live and you learn from
You
this one situation.
You just move differently. Yeah. And all of that brings wisdom. Like, you know what? Then that's when I have younger people come to me. I'm like, no, you know what, man? Maybe you want to think about it this way. Maybe you want to move differently. And that's all it is. It's like, subconsciously, we might have taken things from people that we
exactly.
And then the other thing too is like, you know what? Somebody might know they probably didn't have an opportunity to prepare, and the first thing that came to mind was the last thing that you said, and they said it, and you didn't trip about it, and they're like, you know what? That happened. I might take this person under my wing, or I might, show this person the rope in a different way.
Right.
So it is what it is. Like, like what we do, it's not like surgery. It's not like not seriously.
Nah,
It's
you're
like
right.
I'm
Nah,
not
you're
saving
right.
nobody's life. All right, I
Surgery.
might share it with a person like Shay. Like yo, you know he got that from.
Yeah,
You know?
motherfucker
So as
took
long
that
as the
idea.
people,
Right.
as long as the people that I care about and they know, that's all that matters.
right.
And
I don't
I
know,
ain't even
man.
tripping about it. Like I'm not really tripping about it like that.
Whereas, bro,
I don't think any idea is ever ultimately original.
Right.
None of it, because we've
Talk
all
that.
done it. Because there's so many things you could. But my thing is like, how many times can you sell a toothpaste or a liquor bottle? Like how many times can you do it? At the end of the day, it all becomes essentially the same thing, but how you execute is very different. So yes, I've had people literally take my work verbatim, present it,
Wow.
you know, and present it as their own. So the only thing you can do is recognize where you are in that hierarchy and just do your work. At
I
the
don't
end of
know,
the day-
man, but I mean, let's be real. Like, you know, some guys take your idea. Next thing you know, they getting fucking rewarded for it. They
Yeah,
getting taken
but-
to award shows.
But you know,
They getting like, you know, getting treated like they the fucking, you know, I don't know, like they
hear
the
you.
shit.
I hear
Even
you.
though they took your idea, and I don't know,
I
you can
hear
feel
you.
aware about that, and there's nothing wrong with
I
feeling
mean,
that.
I
way.
look at it like this, like,
Can
my
I
man,
just make
like,
one
like,
more-
nah, real quick, before you jump in there, I was gonna say, like Jay said, you say you made Jay, make another one. That's
Boom.
how I look at
There
it.
you
If
go.
you steal an idea, like if you,
And-
you can steal an idea,
And
make
Fabulous,
another great idea.
Fabulous said this a long time ago. He said, you know, sometimes, you know, if you can't be used, then you're useless. So, I mean, it depends on the lens and the perspective. I mean,
Those are two good points.
I look at it like this in a lot of ways, wherever I'm at. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't own this company. I don't own this brand.
That's a true-
And my
that's
thing
a
is
fact.
this. You better use me while I'm here, because when I'm gone, you know what? This building was here before I got here, and the building going to be here after I leave. So, I'm not but I'm just talking from like a media person,
Right.
like, from a media standpoint. Like,
but I mean,
Go ahead.
no, I don't want you.
nah, go ahead, man.
So let me get into it. So I think like obviously
Let's get into it, right?
Obviously, there are no new ideas. I don't
I
think
agree.
so. I think that the way people execute it is a new idea. Is different the way you execute it. But I feel like somebody has had the same idea and I imagine myself as an explorer. I'm an adventurer. When it comes to creative, I don't want to see what other people are doing. I just want to do my own shit, right? But at the end of the day, I do recognize that someone else might have came up with this. How I execute it is very different.
Right.
How I make it relevant, how I make it cool, how I make it whatever is different. But with that being said, I do recognize that if I work at an agency, I don't own that idea. Because as soon as they cut me a check,
Yeah.
I've given them like
You
my
know what's-
basically,
intellectual
You know what's
property.
actually worse than, what equally is worse than somebody stealing your idea or the way that you you maneuvered or
I just
proceeded
say,
idea,
do you
right?
even care about that?
No, I'm just gonna make a point, right?
Okay.
You know what's even worse than like somebody stealing like a thought on a original thought is somebody selling a whack ass idea when you know it's whack and they know it's whack.
Yes.
But they figure out a better way to perform it.
Yes.
And you know,
I
like,
hate
yo,
that.
this shit is garbage. This is
Yes, I
trash.
hate that.
And
But they knew how to sell it.
you know how to sell it, but it don't make. I mean, yeah, and that's the point, right? Like some of the greatest things that's been rewarded, it wasn't necessarily good. It's just some motherfucker sold it.
And sometimes things are just timely.
Yeah.
So you've done it
Right.
at the right time. So people are gonna appreciate it in a different way today. as
I've
they
seen
would
people
have-
Bojangle cooning. I can say that because I'm black. Cooning,
Yeah.
cooning, straight up and
Yeah.
down cooning in front of the account people and the client. And it's like, this is. I can't do that.
Right,
and if I gotta do that to sell an idea, then I won't sell shit
Then
because
yeah,
I don't know how to
so-
coon.
so-
realistically, the idea is not that good though.
Exactly,
You
that's
but
true.
Yeah,
if
that's
you
my
don't
point,
sell,
though.
the idea is
But
not
that's
that
my
good.
point.
But so all right, that brings us to my next point. I mean, like,
Ooh, we got a little heated up in here.
nah, I think that
Hot
was,
up in
that,
this
that,
bitch.
that was a good segue into the next topic. Is advertising? I mean, we ad bros, so we gotta talk about advertising,
Yeah,
and
we-
we Adam brothers.
We've been talking about it.
Is advertising behind in innovative ideas, innovative ads, activations, whatever?
Yes.
All right. Wait, before we unpack that, what'd you think, Rose? All
I agree.
right, Shay, what'd you think? Get off your phone. Stop texting.
Sorry. Absolutely.
Okay. All right.
I
I
like
agree.
Shay's
I
point
want to.
Shay got a really good
I
point
just
of
want
view
to say
on
I agree as well. But let's Let's let the man unpack this.
Shay got a good point of view on this.
Go ahead. I mean, honestly, before you unpack this, I'm gonna just jump in. Like, right now, advertising is following, not leading. Like they're following art. They're following what's hot. They're going on social media and looking at what's popping in the sphere, and then they're making an ad that speaks to that, versus making an ad that's innovative, and then letting culture follow that, which I think is wrong in my perspective, but I'm not creative, so I can't speak to all of it.
But you're a thinker. If all right, so have you ever been invited to a party?
Yes.
I just want to say for the record, I've been invited to many parties.
Okay, so people who are invited to parties typically are cool, right? Or they're interesting.
Relatively speaking.
Yeah. So they're interesting.
Sometimes they just got following.
Yeah, but this. Let me get to where I'm going. So, like, when people get invited to parties, it's for a specific reason. They're interesting, they're fun, they're cool. You like to talk to them, you want to be around them, right? And advertising was that for a very long time, right? And because of that, you were able to create things, right? So the Marlboro Man or Green Giant or Michelin Man, whatever, right? The problem with advertising today is that there's no cultural component to it. It's not like we're making something for other people to follow or to build upon, which is problematic when you're trying to build brands or what have you. So what we're seeing now is a shift to where advertising is taking things from people. They're pulling pieces of our cultural thread and our cultural kind of nuances, and it comes across as corny or late or not thoughtful. Whereas what advertising used to do is create it. Like Mickey D's, that's an advertising concept, right? And it translated into our everyday kind of vernacular. But advertising doesn't do that anymore. You just wait. Oh shit, this is cool, the nay-nay. Okay, let's get everybody to do the nay-nay. Like, no, bro. That's not what advertising's
One trick
purpose
pony
is.
almost.
Exactly. Yeah. That's not advertising's purpose. Advertising's purpose is to show you this is a product you should buy. It's relative to you. It makes sense. Here's why it makes sense. That's what advertising is at the core. So if you go to school to learn advertising like I did, you learn your features, your advantages, and your benefits. But how do you do that? You make it creative and you make it interesting. Advertising does not do that today. And unfortunately, that's the reason why I feel personally advertising is failing, because you're just trying to catch on to something that's relevant and you hope that it takes you along for the ride.
You hope it becomes a meme or social,
right?
Or becomes
viral.
Right. You're hoping, you're begging for people to be like, oh,
that's
this
free
is really
media.
cool.
That's free media. Just
No.
for those who don't know.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, you're hoping for people to be like, oh, this is cool. Let me get along for it. When advertising for 100 years made culture, it made things. Like, if we talk about the modern day, I'm not going to sit here and do the whole history of advertising, but our modern advertising starts in like 1860 with NW Ayers, right? So they understood, like, if you have a message, we can strategically place it within your documents to understand, like, okay, somebody reads the newspaper and they're going to see this ad for, WH and Macy's, which I think it came a little bit later than that, but you get the point of it. So it's like thinking about how advertising plays a role in our life, and it does, because we see brands 4,000 or 5,000 times a day, but advertising has never evolved to fit the individual person one-to-one every single day.
I think the people who can more likely innovate advertising are going to more or less be the guys who can control data. So you're not talking Google, Netflix, maybe Uber, definitely Amazon. I mean, because they understand what people like, and they can contextualize messaging using machine learning, AI, and some creative, to really target, not even just target groups of people, like hyper target down to the individual.
Right. They can get more specific.
Yeah.
In terms of
Like
market
what they
to.
call dark ads, right? Like those same dark ads that was ran during the 2016 election, that, the ads that only AD would see, or Stallion would see, or Rose would see, and then if I share it, it becomes a non-dark ad. So I think that's been the innovation, but nevertheless, that's just an algorithm. That's not culture.
Right. I agree.
You need permission. And that's a thing I feel like advertising agencies have lost. And that's why they're not as relevant as they can be, or probably should be, to be honest. And why you see the state of marketing and advertising, because we don't ask permission anymore. And advertising used to be like, this is the culture. I'm selling you this thing because it's interesting, it's cool, it's great.
They used to set the tone.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. What are you about to say, Jose?
And to that point too, and I think also the evolution of like different platforms and how you speak to people,
right?
Like that
It
tells
changes.
a story too.
Absolutely.
And sometimes I feel like advertisers don't know how to deal with that. Or
No.
handle it. So it's like, I mean, a lot of this stuff is so new that yes, advertising, product, sell it to you, how to sell it to you, but like we're all babies to it still. Where it's like, you know what? I'm learning how the person who's consuming it is learning.
VR and AR. I mean, where is it going? Where do we think it's going?
I put it to you like this.
All right, jump into that.
VR, AR. I think AR has the potential to actually outdo VR because it's a little bit more democratic. It doesn't.
AD also, so sorry, as you look, can you kind of like just
break down what those
differences
definitions
for
means.
people?
So for those who don't know, AR stands for augmented reality. That's when you put a layer on top of something that already exists. Versus virtual reality, it means that you are going into a whole nother quote unquote realm or experience that doesn't necessarily connect with your current reality, i.e. digital, right? Or Second Life or whatever, right? So AR, in the case of like the phones, will allow you to just point your phone at something and be able to just augment that reality or put a layer on top of it, i.e. Pokemon Go or some of the things with Google Maps or whatever, right? VR, unfortunately, requires you to put something on your body, right?
Yeah.
Some kind
Hardware.
some hardware, right? Some lens. Let's be real. Some people don't want to mess up their hair. Some people just, I'm being for real. I mean, that's real talk, right?
And,
or
and
more than
that's a bad
anything,
user experience. You have to use my product unless you can't use my product unless you buy a hardware device.
right? And that hardware sometimes takes a lot of computing power to drive that. Right now, some of the VR headsets are driven by smartphones, but a lot of them are really driven by computers. And more people don't have computers; they have phones. So the thing about VR, I think if you're a brand trying to use VR, you may want to consider it to be more of a B2B kind of solution, whereas AR could be B2C or B2B2C, which is business to consumer or business to business, right? But I think companies like Apple and Google with that, because they control all the headphones, not the headphones, but the cell phones. These guys can really make VR and AR a little bit more accessible. Prior to that, it requires you to have like some really high-powered computer to actually do it. So I think overall, like the technology is there. I just don't know if the reason to engage has really been fully thought about yet.
I mean, I think it kind of stems back to when the internet started. It was like originally it started in the military, and it
Arthurnet,
and it wasn't really accessible to everybody, and it wasn't really needed by everybody.
It was created with the intent for a nuclear fallout.
But once it was accessible to everybody, and once everyone found that, once there was a way and a need for it, and it became generally available to everybody, I think it was something that was new and innovative and blew up, and everybody wanted to use it. So just to your point, and just to jump on the back of your point, I think once AR and VR both are needed on a general standpoint, that's when it's like, all right.
I can tell you what that's going to be.
Oh,
It's
all
coming.
right.
My man,
yo,
and ultimately,
Spoiler alert.
spoiler alert.
what's the spoiler? Okay, I'm giving you the spoiler. And it's really not that much of a spoiler, but the internet has always did one thing very well, and that is connect you with people.
Right.
AOL. What did you got when you got an AOL account? You got
You got
Dial-up.
you got an email, right?
Yeah.
That email connect you with other people. So whether you're trying to date or get a job or get some type of newsletter, that is the only reason why you got on the internet in the 90s, right?
Right.
Dial-up, right? You know,
Some kids don't even know what
they don't know what that
know
means.
what dial-up
They
is.
won't
Damn,
have to
homie.
deal with that.
So you move
Who's
in.
these washed brothers? Ooh, shit.
So you move into the new millennium, which is 2000 and beyond. At some point, the new way to connect was not emails; it became social media.
Right.
So more and more people started connecting via social media,
Absolutely.
and they got faster internet. Then social became pretty important. Web 2.0 came around. Then more and more people start connecting because of content. So ultimately, until AR and VR figure out a ways to connect people with people, it's just not going to be a use case for it.
Yeah, and I give Zuckerberg a lot of credit for that.
Yeah.
Because he understood what we see now as a very simple insight.
Yeah.
People want to be connected.
They want to be connected.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it. I mean, look, what's the one thing that always revolutionized any technology? Porn.
yeah. It's
No,
true.
you
It's
laughing.
true.
But
We
porn
laugh,
industry
but-
saved the internet.
Yeah,
it's real
pornography
talk.
saved the internet. If you think about the way advertising is done on the internet, how you think about how data speeds
Yeah.
are constructed, it's because of pornography on the internet. If you think about downloads, it's pornography on the internet.
I mean, the last
So-
episode we talked about sex dolls. So,
Yeah.
I mean, if somebody figure out a way for VR
Still
to
gotta
be
invest in
really
one.
like the Matrix, it's a wrap.
And the thing is, like,
It's a wrap.
And I know that's not the question that you asked, but like when we talk about pornography, why it's important is because it's shifted the landscape of what the internet was built on. The internet was built for information,
Yeah.
for you to get easy access to it, not every day easy access.
Yeah, it was never meant for
It
monetization.
wasn't meant for
It was never
us.
meant to be monetized.
No, it was never meant for that. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you cool, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. But pornography made you download videos. It brought you ads. It brought you speed.
Yeah.
It brought you different user interfaces.
Streams.
Because if you look at the internet, when it
Strokes.
wasn't like
It brought you different strokes for different folks.
different strokes. Anyway,
it's true.
I'm done with that. To answer your question, Sean, what was your question? What was this topic? I'm a little bit lit off that Henny.
Hey.
Bleep that out.
The question was VR and AR. Where is it going?
Oh, okay.
Where do we think it's going?
Yeah, apologies. Yeah, I think everything is meant for a purpose. So if you can create a scenario or a situation which is necessary, then yeah, use the technology. Well, I don't think you ever should use technology just for the sake of it. Because when you do that, you're making it novel. And you don't want novelties and creative.
Pornhub is going to figure it out.
Oh, yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Honestly, like,
Yeah.
I just want to speak for the layman. Like, I'm interested to see where VR porn is gonna go. Just to be honest.
I mean, you're just doing it for the culture.
Like
You're
for
asking
the
for the
culture,
culture.
I'm asking for the
course,
culture.
of
Like,
course.
where is this gonna go?
Like Black
And then-
China
and-
should
and-
have
and-
should have had VR instead of that whack ass video she put out.
And then
Yo, who knew he was gonna wild out like that?
Just to go past that, once you get past porn and adult film and all that stuff, I would love to see where VR goes with like multiplex and movies and everything, and just being involved and just being in the video, in the movie, in the culture, and it's just
Well,
I think that'd be big. Yeah.
then
Apple,
you now talking about-
Samsung, step up.
Well, I think Apple could do it.
Yeah.
Definitely MR
Absolutely.
with
It has
Microsoft.
to start there.
Right.
Well, Microsoft got this
But
thing
also
called
too,
mixed
but,
reality.
But just to jump in, like I think from a producer standpoint, I think it becomes a money thing, and it's just like
yeah, how you monetize
as
that,
soon
right?
like I think as soon as it could be monetized and done, I wouldn't say cheaply, but done on a way where it's not super expensive. Where because you gotta think, I mean, for the layman diving into this, when you shoot something in VR, AR, you have to shoot it one way. You have to film the day on a regular camera, and then you have to film it differently for VR because you got to do all these perspectives, and you have to
360 cameras.
kind of There's so much layout. There's so much nuances into it.
Well, I mean, I think if
And I think I was just gonna say, I think as soon as you can monetize it and make it easy in a shoot way,
or subsidize it, right? Maybe it's something that's used for education.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Maybe it's used for education.
I mean, I think
they ain't trying to educate us.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, a good idea should be able to be flexible.
Right.
It should be able
That's
to
true.
expand across different things.
that got weird, didn't it?
It got really weird.
But I mean,
guys.
yo,
I like it, though.
I mean,
I like
yo,
it.
that's the last topic, but I think it's good though.
That was
I
good.
mean, you got to think like, how do we subsidize? I think the point is, how do we subsidize VR, AR? How do we make it accessible to everybody so that everyone could use it, everyone could do it, everyone could watch it?
I don't think my
how do you
mom is gonna fuck with it.
Nah.
I don't think so.
It's definitely
But
for your generation.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but it's not necessary for everybody, right? So, like anything you do, technology, you should have an idea behind it.
Right.
So whatever the idea
True.
is, like I mean, there's people who've done it well, right? Like Verizon did some like Odell Beckham kind of VR when they threw a football to him and he just popped up, So it makes sense in the situation that you're in to use technology.
Yeah,
Right.
And it has to be like experiences and rollout that mean something to the people, right? Like
Right.
Pokemon Go was like the biggest thing when it dropped,
True.
but then it just like died
Bruh.
and like no
Yeah,
one
exactly.
really cares about that. And it's like, all right, so like we did that. That was cool. All right, what's next? So you gotta have to continue with the
the push,
like the push back to back to back to back.
Yeah.
And the downside of that, to your point, like with Pokemon Go, I was in a meeting in an ad agency when they were like, yeah, we should do Pokemon Go, like an experience like that for a military client.
Whoa.
So I was
really?
like, how
We're
do
not
y'all
gonna
imagine
like
using
that.
that?
Word?
So yeah. So I'm sitting there, I'm like,
wow, that's terrible.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
That's not a good idea
Because
at
like
all.
the military actually kills people.
Right.
That's
Right.
their job. So
And they
to-
take that pretty
Exactly.
serious because they don't want it to kill anybody unless they need to.
Yeah,
Like, that's
I
not the
don't
fun.
think anybody really wants to kill anybody, but like I sat in that meeting and I'm like, yeah, we should do like a Pokemon Go. I'm
Nah.
like,
Yeah,
nah.
I mean, I think that brings us to this idea I brought up earlier. It was just like, how does VR and AR translate into the real life? Where it's like, for example, outside of entertainment, is like if you're doing VR or AR to, for example, if you're in the automotive industry and you're building a car, or you're in the medical industry and you're doing heart surgery, is like, does that? I mean, again, I'm not qualified to speak on this specifically, but from the outside looking in, it's just like, does that directly translate to someone being able to do heart surgery who's doing VR training to next do it on a human? I don't
question.
think it does, but I mean, I could be wrong.
I don't know. I mean, I think kids who are obviously way younger than us, they just learn different than we do, right? Like you got kids who learn pretty much everything on YouTube. So if you
Exactly.
take YouTube and make that now augmented or make it more like a mixed reality or virtual reality, that just take what they've already been doing and it doesn't make it physical, but it gets them close to something that feels
Right.
almost tactile in nature, but it's not fully that. But by the time they get to something that may feel like that,
Right.
they're at least familiar, but they still have to learn
Exactly.
in the physical
like,
world.
Yeah, you got
Right.
to learn the physical part.
I mean, it's like a manual, right? Like you know, you
can read it.
You
But
can read it.
It ain't until you do it.
yeah, but you still are a little bit more familiar with whatever that is before you have to do the real thing. So look at like VR or even YouTube. It's literally like a digital manual for younger generations.
Absolutely.
You know,
Right. I mean, all I'm gonna say is for the layman, I can't wait until VR porn comes out.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
And then,
So you gonna get rid of your sex doll? You're not gonna get the sex doll?
So that
You just gonna get the VR thing?
That becomes a debate. Do I get rid
We
of?
never gonna
do I-
see
Do I
you?
get rid of the?
Are you even gonna host this podcast?
Do I get rid of the
Yo, but his hands gonna be mad
2000?
strong.
Do I get?
You give him a dap, that shit's gonna be mad strong. You be like, yo,
take your
bro.
arm right off.
All
Do
right.
does the lay? I'm speaking for the layman, not for myself.
Of course.
It's gonna be
Of course.
Do we get rid of the $2,000 sex robot, or do we do the VR
I hate
sex
to say
experience?
It, man. I think that if we're not careful, I think the ideal of actually like human touch, it's gonna be a thing of the past.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like
Yeah.
dictionaries. Like who have a dictionary in their house? Well, okay, who have encyclopedias in their house?
Damn.
Wow. I remember
People
they
have
used to,
books,
I remember they
but
used
they
to
don't
come
have
to my house to
encyclopedias.
sell those.
Yeah, right. He
I remember when he used to come to my house
right
and be like, yo, we have these encyclopedias for your kids to
Right.
learn, blah, blah, blah.
and got the little translucent,
I don't know how many
transparent
people,
little
yeah,
pages.
I don't know how many people
that
go
you
through
can
that.
you can actually see the
No, that's
internal of a
At the
human
end
body.
of the day,
They don't do
You want to
that.
see a dead body?
I just hate to say. I think human contact. We're not careful. It's gonna become like a
You gotta be careful.
That's unfortunate, though.
but on a positive note, I just hope that the movie industry moves into a positive VR, AR standpoint.
With the sex bots?
Yeah,
What?
man.
No, bro.
Oh, so
I
have
mean,
they tried
it
that?
would be dope. The sex scenes and you see in movies, they go
But
to
they've
the VR.
they've
shit.
kind of done it with 3D, right? And here's the thing.
I'm sure.
I can't really look at 3D films. I can only see out of one
My
eye.
head hurts a lot when I look at these.
And I
films.
can only see out of one eye. You need both of your eyes to see
Yeah.
3D films. So I go to a 3D film, it's just constantly blurry for me, right? So I just can't even look at it.
But you know what? You're amazing.
In what way?
Because like your design aesthetic, the way you build products, the way you build things is amazing. And I know that you have that handicap. And I learned that the most bizarre way ever. Yo, me and this guy have been on road trips. We probably been to 100 dinners together. And this guy one day out of the blue is like, "Oh yeah, I can't see on my eye," or like I'm colorblind. I'm
Wow, I
like,
didn't
"Wait
know
a
that,
second,
bro.
how you just say that like on some regular casual shit? Like I don't
But
understand."
my thing is, you keep pushing because some people would use that and be like, "Yo, I can't do
But that's
X,
what
Y, and Z."
but that's what I'm saying. It came out of nowhere. Like we're talking about some bullshit, and he's like, "Oh yeah, by the way, like I can only see legal. I'm only legally blind." I'm like,
All
"Wait,
right.
what?"
In my right eye, yeah.
So real quick,
It's funny.
That's crazy, man. My man AD.
But I got
is
got my eye on all of you guys. One eye.
my man AD is a super designer.
We're at a table with 4 gentlemen, and we do about 30 things, 30 different things.
Bro, honestly,
That people-
the 4
It's
people at
true.
this table
It's
could run
true.
a ad agency.
Yeah, we could.
That's what I'm saying.
A small one, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. And those in certain places had that shot. So that's
Alright,
just
nah.
not.
But say it again.
No, I'm just saying certain people had that shot. And it's like now when other people say, "Damn, what AD, he killing shit," or you know, what's Shay doing? Shay killing shit. Sometimes you gotta leave home. You gotta leave home. You gotta get out your mama house.
You do.
For everybody to be like, "Damn, you know what?
He was good.
I miss Tony.
Right.
I miss Shay. I miss AD." So I mean, that's just my thing.
No, that's true.
You know, gotta get out your mama house.
No, you're
Somebody could actually
right.
miss you.
Hey, my
No,
mom
you're
started
absolutely
charging
right.
Sometimes you
rent.
gotta break up with a girl so she could be like, "Damn,
I fucked up.
This dude is doing phenomenal."
But you're right. I think to
I
get
like
out your mama's house, it's head on.
yeah,
No, you
Because
right.
I think a lot of us as a culture, as a people, we're afraid to take risks.
yeah, man.
But if you don't take a risk, you don't get that reward.
Gotta shoot your shot.
Shoot.
She just shot.
I'm Kobe, dog.
Mamba
I'm-
mentality.
I'm throwing up 45, and I hope 20 of them go down.
And I don't even
and
care
all of
about
us should
you.
be that way.
I don't even care what you think about me. The last
course not.
5 shots I
Of course
took.
not.
All I'm gonna say is, we don't need no soft talk when it comes to telling the truth.
Hey,
Ooh.
that's
Byron
Talk
Lewis.
Talk that
just
shit.
wrap
Byron Lewis.
this
nah, it's
up.
Elijah.
Elijah
honorable.
Muhammad.
We don't
Elijah
need
Muhammad.
soft talk.
All right,
You don't need no soft talking, telling the truth.
all right, yo. But anyway, yo, that's episode 4.
All
We
right.
wrapping this up.
Rap.
Yep.
He ain't gone.
The hand gone.
Bleep that out.
On.
All right.
All right.
Peace. Good morning.
Queens,
good evening.
I
and
love
good
you.
night.
Peace.
No soft talk when
Peace.
telling the truth.